What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. On this video, we're going to talk about the top 5 tech cards to play in March 2024 OCG format. So this is the time of the year that many people will aim for competitive success because we are nearing at the end of our January format. So this is the final straw of that format before we go towards the April format this coming next month, because we're going to receive a new ban list this late March. I think 3rd or 4th week. So this is the moment where many people will aim for competitive success and want to finish strong at the end of the January format. So this can be a very valuable video for you to outsmart or outwit your opponents, especially your meta deck opponents right now. So without further ado, let's start. So before we go towards our top 5, we're going to assimilate the meaning of tech cards or tech card in Yu-Gi-Oh! So these cards that see seldom play on the side deck and sometimes main deck of most people. So these cards doesn't really see that much play on the side deck and sometimes main deck. So these are very unconventional cards, and also despite being unpopular, these cards can have so much value against the meta decks on the format. So these cards are mostly used to answer the meta decks or the best decks available, and I think despite being unpopular, these cards can give you so much leeway and breathing room against the best decks on the format, and also often labeled as spies, quote-unquote spies, or cards that may surprise the current metagame. So this can give you so much surprise factor against your opponents. So moving on towards our top 5, we have Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries on our number 5. So this is a very unconventional hand trap, no? So Reaper and Winter Cherries rips out the Promethean Princess on the extra deck. So we all knew how impactful Promethean is for the extra deck of the fire attribute based decks right now, like Fire King, Snake Eyes, Salamangreat, Infernoid, and all of those decks that runs Promethean on their extra deck really relies heavily on the Promethean. So this can cancel out or eradicate the Promethean Princess of the extra deck of most matchups that you can encounter right now. And also, this card is fantastic against the Fire Nation. So like I've said earlier, there's a lot of fire attribute based decks that are running rampant on the format. So they are labeled as the Fire Nation because they are fire attribute decks, and this card can be very strong against those decks, and also can be utilized even better on spacious extra deck archetypes. So decks like Fluandris, no, and Eldritch, and other decks that doesn't really rely too much on their extra deck can literally use this card on maximum output because they have a lot of space on the extra deck to cater targets on the extra deck of most matchups. And I think the format is quite diverse, no? Except for the fact that Fire King and Snake Eyes are tier 1 decks. There's a lot of variety. On the tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, we have Purely, Salamangreat, and other decks that are very relevant like Chimera. And yeah, I think there's a lot of decks that are viable enough right now to compete. So when you have a lot of rooms for the extra deck, you can definitely cater your extra deck to have more targets against your local metagame scene and your environment that you are playing. So yeah, I think this card can be very tactful on the current format right now. So this lands on our number 5 on this list. So moving on, we have the meta decks that can be toppled by Winter Cherry. So Risk Ace, no, relies on SP Little Knight and Promethean Princess. Especially Little Knight can be very good to them because it can help them dodge Imperms and Veilers to protect their Turbulence. So you can cancel out the Little Knight as well, and Fire King, of course, the Promethean, and also Salamangreat, which heavily relies towards the Promethean on their extra deck to extend their plays. So moving on towards our number 4, we have Waboku. So this is an old card or a classic card. This is a card from the OG Yu-Gi-Oh series, and it saw play recently because of Tenpai, of course. And yeah, moving on, we have Waboku, and this card can save you from Tenpai OTK. Like I've said earlier, Tenpai is very prevalent right now in the format, and most people are running Tenpai right now. And the Tenpai gameplay aims to OTK instantly in a single turn. They have a lot of destructive power to destroy boards, and they can interrupt your opponent using a lot of hand traps, and also they can play board breakers to break boards, and on top of that they can seal out massive damage on the battle phase. They can dish out 30k up to 40k damage on a single battle phase. So they can literally OTK any deck right now and any people right now in the format. So Waboku can give you leeway against them because you take no battle damage on this turn against Tenpai, so it saves you from their massive damage output and also protects your board from the battle destruction. So if you don't want your monsters getting annihilated on the battle phase, Waboku can be a good answer as well to protect your monsters, and also lets you have a breathing room to recover. So it really gives so much value to you when you can survive a turn and mount a comeback on the following turn to win the game on the following turn. So it's really phenomenal on that department. So yeah. So moving on towards the decks that can be toppled by Waboku, of course Tenpai. We only side Waboku because of Tenpai and its resurgence recently just to counter the Tenpai because it is very prevalent right now on the current OCG metagame. So moving on towards our number 3, we have Dino Wrestler Pankratops. So this is a staple for the most part, no? And I think it saw resurgence recently because of the popularity of many floodgates on the format. We can see a lot of floodgates like Summon Limit, Anti-Spell Fragrance, and even Skill Drain, and a lot of cards that are played on the extra rather side deck of many people and meta decks on the format right now. So it outs problematic Spell Trap, Floodgates, and this can be very good on game 2 and 3 where you don't draw your Cosmic Cyclones or your back row removals. This can be a good alternative to answer those problematic floodgates, and also can out problematic monsters on the board. So we do have rogue decks like Shadal, Melodious, and also most decks end on Apollousa with 2-4 attack. So Pankratops can have that extra damage for you with 2-6 attack stat line to beat out those Apollousa and Winda to turn the game around for you, and also offers an extra body with high attack output. So yeah, with 2-6 it has a lot of damage and a lot of attack points to extend your battle damage output, and also have extra body on your field to do a lot of plays as well. So yeah, on number 3 we have Pankratops. Moving towards the decks that can be toppled by Pankratops, of course Runic. This is a notorious floodgate deck that relies on floodgate and stunning the opponent using their floodgates, and yeah, I think Pankratops can give Runic a hard time as well when you can bait out their protection as well, and Pankratops can came up clutch against this matchup. And yeah, moving on towards our top 2 on this list, we have Threatening Roar, no? So this card aims to eradicate the battle damage output of the Tenpai as well. Similar to Waboku, Threatening Roar is here to answer the Tenpai. So yeah, moving on, we have Threatening Roar, no? So this is brilliant against Tenpai. It is literally a card to answer the Tenpai because your opponent cannot declare an attack this turn. So Tenpai doesn't really have place to out this because they move towards the battle phase and they want to dish out damage really high on the battle phase. So when you can flip this Threatening Roar against them, I think they will be put in a very terrible position because they cannot procure their battle against you, and also lets you survive a turn, no? Like Waboku, it gives you an extra turn to survive against Tenpai, and you can definitely win games, especially if your deck has recovery and recursion. On the following turn, you have follow-ups to do your plays on the next turn, so this can be very good as well, and also can spark comebacks with decks that has spectacular follow-ups. So yeah, like I have said earlier, when you have follow-ups like Tri Brigade, when you have that Nerval ad from the following turn, and also a lot of decks right now are good with that, with Phoenix, Infinite Recursion from the Fire King. So you can definitely snag up victories from coming back from deficit using this Threatening Roar. So moving on towards the decks that can be toppled is of course none other than Tenpai. We want to use tech cards to answer the Tenpai because this is a very hard matchup, no? When you cannot draw your ogres, your other relevant cards to stop the Tenpai, it's really hard to stop the Tenpai. And there's a reason why Tenpai is the second most represented deck on the OCG scene based on the Road of the King. So Tenpai is literally a deck that you should be respected right now in order to gain competitive success. Because when you don't respect Tenpai, I think this is a very hard matchup and it can definitely snatch victories away from you. So yeah, moving on towards our top 1 on this list, we have the Black Goat Laps. So a card from Phantom Nightmare, I assume, or Agov, I think. So yeah, the Black Goat Laps is the number 1 card on our list right now because I think it saw a lot of play recently on the side deck of many people, and we're going to see the reasons for that. So yeah, moving on towards the strengths of this card. This card can be very disruptive to play against. So when your plays are linear on certain monsters, this can be very hard to deal against, and it can definitely stun you and skip your turn and really mess up your plays. So I think this card can be very strong on the turn where you can go first and set up this card on your back row, and also can be very impactful against the format, especially if you have done your homework. So when you know when and where to choke out your opponents, and you know what are the relevant cards to start your plays, this card is very phenomenal on that aspect, because when you have knowledge against the format and you literally have so much knowledge in you, you can definitely max out the usage of this card on many matchups, because this can be very handy, and I think this card is very underrated as well. Most people doesn't really play this card over something like Anti-Spell and the Barrier, but right now this is also a good alternative when you can go first, and also has graveyard effects, and some decks can benefit with this despite being a trap. So you can fetch this card using the Trust, and yeah, I think it is searchable by Trust, no? So yeah, it can be very strong as well. And also when your deck discards like Trap Tricks and Labyrinth, you can also fetch this card on the graveyard and have so much effects as well to procure with this card, because it has graveyard effects as well. So this is a very versatile card right now, and I think it's very exciting to see where this card develops on the following formats, because right now it's seeing so much play on the side deck, and I cannot even label it as tech card because there's a lot of decks that runs this right now. So yeah, moving on towards that decks that can be tackled with the Black Goat Laps, we have Rescue Ace, of course the Turbulence and Snake Eyes, with the relevance of their popular, and also the Tenpai, their monsters are very essential for them to have effects and be special summoned to do their OTK, and also the Voiceless Voice, which relies on the Skull Guardian and the Law. So yeah, that sums up our top 5 tech cards video on our video right now. So once again, thank you for watching, and huge shout outs to my subscribers, because we have reached the 1k subs milestone, and I cannot really express my gratitude through online. So I'm going to have a raffle for you guys, and I think this will be very exciting because I'm going to hand out prizes for the travel, and we're going to also have an online tournament for you guys. I think Master Duel tournament would do. So stay tuned on my YouTube channel to have more information on my following announcements regarding that. So once again, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.